Welcome to this episode of the Down the Pub podcast. We've had a bit of a break. I had family over from Ireland who were slightly more important than talking shit with Dave and Derek. So we kind of missed a couple of games. I was kind of hoping after we lost Pacific and we lost a let it go that we might get a result against Ford, so we'd have a little bit more of an upbeat podcast going into this one. And of course, that didn't happen. So welcome back to the show. It was good having both of you back, actually. Dave and Derek, how's it going, lads?
It's fantastic. I was away in Barcelona, had a great time in the city, and had to watch one of the games remotely, so that was fun.
Nice, nice. And how are you doing, Derek?
Great. Got to meet your family while they were here, so that was lovely.
I
Yeah.
I know you're just being polite, but that's okay.
Were they nicer or worse than Anto?
Let's not go there.
Yeah,
Let's just say
that's a
we
tough
went for
call.
we went for Anto's birthday pints and
Oh no! Oh
trying to
no!
trying to keep up on the drinking with that many Irish people was a welcome challenge. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely felt it the next day. Anyway, so I guess we should get into why we're here to talk about some footy. Been a lot going on, I guess, like with the league. There's been a lot going on at the club. There's obviously with the toys have had stuff going on too. So let's just start with the Wanderers. So obviously the game against Pacific, we lost that game because of a lot of errors. I thought it was a game that we should have won. The game against Atletico, I just didn't think. I think Ottawa were just a better team than us. And this game was very even for most parts of it, but we seemed like we had some sort of belief issues, I think, especially after they scored so early. So before we kind of talk about the big parts of the game, we did see some changes come into this one. We saw Ray and Provo both dropping to the bench and Rampy coming into the midfield. So I just want to get your guys' thoughts on that. What do you think was the purpose behind it? Did it work? Far away there, lads.
Derek, are you in first, or is this me?
I'm deferring to you on this one, Dave.
All right, Mitch. So it looked to me like they went with a 4-1-4-1, with kind of Telford dropping in behind Tiago, and basically letting Rampy just try and chew up the space in between. Now, it took a few minutes, and unfortunately, a few minutes was past the seventh minute for Rampy to really get into the game. He hasn't, I don't think he's started a game yet this year. He's been coming off the bench a lot and not really playing a ton of minutes. So he should be fresh, but you could tell he was getting his sea legs in this one. If you kind of watch the minute before the goal, he misses a tackle on our right hand side of the pitch, and then goes in to try and make a tackle, and just doesn't get there. And it's like 1 yard each time. I'm not saying necessarily the goal is his fault, but again, had a chance to win the ball or potentially even take the player out, and just did not get there both times, leading to that amazing strike by Patton. But I did think that there was a lot of interesting wrinkles there, especially defensively. I felt like Lorenzo and Isaiah had a ton of opportunity, a ton of license really to roam wherever they wanted to try and win the ball back. They weren't stuck in the middle, just holding that space because they had Rampy in behind them. And I did find it very interesting that they were both out on both touchlines making tackles and really covering for their fullbacks.
Yeah, I'm curious whether this is kind of like a one-time tactical adjustment or something we expect to see more of going forward. Because I do think our midfield got overrun a little bit in previous matches against Forge, and so you could maybe argue that this was a tactical tweak to address that, or might be a signal that they're still experimenting with different stuff. So
He was asking the producer was asking the presser about it, and he kind of said that you know Rampy had been doing really well in training, and they kind of wanted to try something different. I guess coming off two defeats, kind of makes sense that you want to try and tweak things a little bit. Just for the goal, like I know you said that Rampy like missed a tackle, but like there was no cover, and Ben Peyton Patton whatever, like I don't know if they're calling Peyton on whatever. I'd say Patton anyway. He had so much time and space. Like he was able to take two touches before he took that shot, and nobody
yeah,
And I mean, it doesn't matter what level you're at, you can't do that, right? I mean, and I know a lot of people there when we were at the game are kind of going like, "Oh, Yesley should have had that." Haven't watched the goal back. Like this, it took a wicked curve at the end there just before it went in. I like, and I think just the sheer power of it, like it was, well, that was going to be a hard one for him to stop. So I wouldn't put any blame on Yesley's door, but it's just the way we just sat off and just let him run. And you just can't do it to these guys. Like they'll punish you. That's just what they do, right? I mean, they're like they're a machine, you know. So yeah,
I feel like they're trying to, the way they set up is they're really trying to shut down Becker and not let him dictate the match. And so I do wonder, like they were letting Ashnata Johnson kind of have a little bit more leeway to, like they were inviting him up the field. Um, but every time they went down the right side, they pressed really hard on their right side. So that was another interesting tactic. But I don't know. I don't think anyone was expecting him to bang that in. Like you look back at the replay, he had to be 27,
oh my God.
25, 27 yards and he hit it. And as a retired goalkeeper, like that is like your worst nightmare. The ball's coming, you think you're prepped, and all of a sudden it turns away from you at that pace. Just crazy.
Yeah, like obviously Becker is still one of the best players in the league, but like Ford have so many other competent players that if you're going to try and shut somebody down like that, like you're kind of leaving yourself open then to like Ben Payne was playing in the SPL like last season or the season before, and he's like Canadian international. So it's not like you stop Becker and then they don't have anybody else. They're not a one man team. Just seems we kind of left ourselves a little bit exposed. And after the goal, it kind of shook us up a little bit. And I thought we came back into it really well. I thought that we started moving the ball around a little bit of purpose. Lorette, probably the best game I've seen Lorenzo play in 2 years, probably. He was everywhere. He was putting tackles in. He was his passing was on point, So I guess the good thing about what they did with Rampy is that they gave Lorenzo that, as you said, Dave, like that kind of license to kind of roam and be a bit more involved in the game because he does seem sometimes like he's stuck in the one position. It's like he's in like a little square, and that's where he stays, and he can't go anywhere else. So I
Yeah,
just kind of
it was a bit reminiscent of when we had the Mo Omar and Caligari pairing as sort of your double pivot, and that Mo Omar kind of did the cleanup and it gave Lorenzo a bit more freedom to roam. And it felt like that was kind of the type of role Ramp he was playing. So
what does it like with Lorenzo having that sort of performance, and we'll get into the goal in a second. What does that mean for the other two creative guys on the bench? Like Sean Rea and Probo. Like, I mean, when Rea came to the club, obviously he came in a lot of fanfare because like he was an excellent player in the CPL for Valor, and obviously gone to Montreal, and he had a little stint in Europe. So he hasn't really hit the heights of what we were expecting him to be perfectly honest. So like having Lorenzo being able to step up into that and doing really well, like where does that leave those two guys?
I feel that there's not really any direct correlation between Rhea and Lorenzo. Like, I don't think Lorenzo's ever droppable in like any game because he adds so much more. And Rhea is just like that attacking, just doesn't really want to defend that much. He'll track back a little bit, but like, I mean, he's going against really Bahambula by maybe Telfer on occasion. Like, it's those guys that he's chasing down. Like, Isaiah's not coming off the field, if at all possible. Like, so you're really talking about three spots for, I don't know, probably five players, six players that are all going after those three spots. And then if you put like Probo into that mix, like, I was glad to see him come back, and I actually really liked him sitting back there, pinging long balls to the top of their box at the end there. I thought that was really interesting and something I'd like to see if we'll take up a little bit more.
Oh, your thoughts there?
yeah, I mean, to build on what Dave was saying, like I maybe think that if Bamboula and Bayer, the players he's competing with, were maybe not using him in the proper role, because I don't think his best role is wide. I think it's more as a 10. So
Yeah, it's just that, I just feel bad for him, and that we just can't seem to find the spot for him. Like he's one of the best players in the league. Like, and that's the frustrating thing that, like, at the start of the season, we were looking to him, we were looking to Probo and obviously Lorenzo and like and I say Johnson as like a very, very strong midfield. And it kind of just hasn't, like Probo had a good start to the season, but it just hasn't worked out that way. It's kind
Yeah,
of,
I mean, we were talking about this a bit earlier, and I'm interested in your guys' thoughts, whether you agree with me, disagree with me, but I feel like we our roster this year, we've got a lot of central players and we're trying to force some of them wide. And I'm not sure that works. So when you looked at how our roster build went this year, we were heavy on center backs, we were heavy on central midfielders, we were heavy on central attacking midfielders. We have only two strikers, or at least only two that Patrice will play with any regularity. We've got two more that are under 21s that don't seem to be able to make the bench. So we didn't have a lot of natural wingers and we didn't have a lot of natural fullbacks. And so we've kind of forced I won't say forced because I think he's adapted well to the role, but Perlman came to us as a center back. We've kind of turned him into a right back. Wesley Timoteo came to us pretty much as a winger slash midfielder, and we've converted him to a left back over the last few years. But behind them, we have nothing in terms of fullback depth. And so I think as we've made different tactical adaptations this season, and as we've tried to change our formation, it's forced us to push some central players wide. Players like Rhea, stuff that I don't think that's their best space. So I do think there's some I do think we're seeing some of the limitations of how this team was built in that we like six center backs, I think. Do you include Perlman?
yeah.
I mean, that's a lot if you're not playing a back three, which we're not. So
Well,
um
and the players there that like haven't even been like we've seen Alphonse about once or twice. We haven't seen Julian Dunn. Mekadesh, I don't know if he's injured or what's going on there. It's just
So I do think there's an extent to which the way the roster is built has either limited our tactical flexibility or forced us to play players in positions that are probably not their best positions when we do try to change the tactics. So I think we're seeing a bit of that too, but you know, I'm open to being told I'm wrong. So
no, I think the thing always with this league though is versatility, and I think people you don't they tend not to sign somebody with just one great. They kind of want you to be able to be flexible because it is a smaller squad, and you see everybody kind of has like I mean like you look at Korean Soul, like he can play right back. You know what I mean? It's like Timoteo, if needed, he can go. It just always seems to be that thing that they want players to be flexible because you just don't have the depth in your squad to be able to cover every position. So you kind of need to have people doing that, but it just takes away from what they're good at. And I think that's the issue with Sean Ray is that like he comes on, he's got these like little cameos and it's very hard, especially a game like that where it was just such a tussle out there to come into and be able to change it. You know what I mean? Like the two teams are just like just set up and like it wasn't like the best game of football to be honest. There were some really good moments in it, but it was very like just like I think Gary said it before when Patrice and uh Bobby play, it's like a chess match. You know what I mean? Like they're kind of really into the tactics and all
The
that kind of
three
stuff.
years of the same chess match.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it, it's like that's why like they haven't been that successful here, right? I mean, it's just like you kind of get some of these numbers. So yeah,
Well,
so
and sorry, let's just close that one though. So, like my feeling is that Rhea's best role and the role that he did well when he was in Winnipeg was basically out of the left half space. So, kind of
yeah,
operating as a winger slash forward, or potentially as a 10. But he's obviously never getting the ball with his back to the net, right? So, like just kind of sitting, floating across, like. But to me, that takes out Telfer. Like I thought Telfer would be playing more on the wing, and we might see Bahambula and Bai like alternating on the left side, and then Telfer would be coming in from the right. Like that's kind of what I had thought this year was going to be. I didn't see Telfer coming in as basically the 10 and playing in behind the striker all the time. So I mean, I think this was actually his best game that I've seen from him in ages, and this is one of the most frustrating things about where we ended up with the score is like Bai, Telfer, Lorenzo and Isaiah had unbelievable matches,
Yeah.
right? We just couldn't score the goals, and we didn't
Yeah.
really create amazing chances. And I don't. That's the frustrating, and that's really when I was looking back over the last three games, it's we're missing sitters and we're not
Yep.
clutch. The other teams are just taking that one opportunity that they get, and like you look back in the goals that have been scored against us, like except for the Patton goal. Well, okay, I'm going to say the two Hamilton goals aside, but like nobody's banging in worldies against us over the last few matches. Like we're holding them to very tough chances, but I don't know. Like it's just I don't think it's headspace because that team does not look like it's quitting one bit. It's just we're not getting the rub of the green or just something to do with the finishing.
It
I,
just
I,
sorry, Dave, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, like, I agree with Dave that I thought Telfer had a fantastic match, and maybe that role does suit him, but it's still odd. Like, if we've really only got two strikers that Patrice is willing to give game time to, it's so odd that we're starting both of them, and then we end up in this situation where we're down 2-1, and we've pulled both of our nines off the field, and we really don't have a focal point for our attack at that point. So it's like it start one or the other, or put one of Jovan Man or Ciccarelli on the bench so that if they do both get tired, you've got to take them both off. Like you've got a nine that's a full. Like we just looked, we it was interesting because I thought we were actually quite good in the first half. The initial goal aside, we got into the second half. We did well for the first bit. We invited a lot of pressure for about a 20-minute period there, which that goal just felt inevitable, that forged goal. Like you could feel it coming because we basically sat back and let them take the game to us for 20 minutes. And then we turned it back on and we were chasing the game and we were applying pressure and all that. We had no focal point for the attack. There was nobody there was no nine on the field that was going to be sort of the person that was going to score that iconic goal. So that concerns me as well. That why are we playing Telfer as a 10 when we have a lot of perfectly capable tens who are sitting on the bench? Um, why are we not working out some rotation of Thiago and Telfer that works? If those are the only two nines we're willing to play, I struggle with that part.
I think a lot of managers have a thing where like they have a player that they depend on and they really want to keep in the squad, and I think that's Telfer with this team.
Yep.
Which is fair enough. Like it's his prerogative. He's the coach, whatever. But I do agree with you. I mean, like Tavio, like was really good in the Wrexham series. Like he came when we signed him. Like we signed him from an academy in the UK. It was in Middlesbrough, wherever it was that, and he was a Canadian under 20 international. Like there were uh posting all about him being gone to the under 20 World Cup or wherever it was that he went to. I can't remember what it was. And we just haven't seen him around. Like, we sat on the bench a couple of times, blah, 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 blah. And like, he's the type of player that the league is designed for to get games, right? And I mean,
Yeah.
this was the kind of game where you want someone like that to come in. Like,
I can't understand not even having him on the bench as an option. If
yeah,
you're gonna start both Telfer and Thiago, I cannot understand not having one of our two other strikers on the bench as an option.
because at the end of it, it just seemed like we had, as you said, Derek, we just had like a bunch of good play, but with no focal point of where to actually put it into. It was kind of like just a mishmash of people all trying the same thing pretty much, or else we'd play like I think Provo played like a couple of superb balls into the wing, and then nothing comes from it because there's not really anybody. Like I think Perlman had a decent chance with a header, I think, towards the end, and that was pretty much it. But it's been a story of Halifax. Like last season when we were struggling, it was all about, we're not taking our chances, we're creating all this, da 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 da. And I've listened to the last three press conferences, and it's literally you could pick any game from last year and listen to the same press conference now, and it's the same topic. It's like we're creating all these chances, we got us like, like I think it was we played 70 minutes of beautiful football against Forge, and we got to take our chances, and we didn't, da da da. And it's like it wasn't really 70 minutes of beautiful football. There was like a lot of turgid, turgid stuff in there because it was a very close game, and those two teams are like we're not that far apart, I don't think. And it just kind of it just seems to be an issue that this club has that we just can't find somebody who's going to go and score us. Like, we had obviously you see what how Sam Salter has developed in Ottawa, as much as I hate to say it, but he's like full of confidence, right? And we just don't seem to have
He's
that.
now
Like,
he's now Atletico Ottawa's top all-time scorer, and to rub a bit of salt in all of our
yeah,
collective
and
wounds.
I know this sounds terrible.
Dave looks like he's got thoughts about that, though. I
No,
want Dave's
no,
take on.
but I would say that I think if Sam Salter had the same in Halifax, he wouldn't have scored the amount of goals that he
I
scored.
agree.
So I think it's
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
agree. Yeah.
so I think he made the right decision on where he went to, and having someone like David Rodriguez playing alongside you kind of helps a lot too, right?
I just hope that Athletic, like he has a banner season, Atletico sells him on to some club because I think we've got a percentage of
Yeah.
any future fee, and maybe we get some money that way.
That's definitely clutching the fucking straws here, trying to get like some Sam Salter money.
From
So,
Sam Salter, I'd take Nimick money. I know he was free, but
oh,
yeah.
so just before we will get into the goal because I think it was one of our best ever goals. I did see on the Halifax discussion things when we had posted about the abuse that Dan Nimick was getting, and I did have a little message from his dad because like I kind of talked to his dad a little bit last year, like when he was here. I just want to know, get your thoughts on if it was warranted. Why is he the focal point of the hate? And yeah, just kind of get your thoughts on it.
I'm just going to jump on that one. So I've watched the last two games on telly, and I heard like some booing and light booing and anemic, blah blah blah, like a couple things, but it didn't really come through on TV. So if it was more in person, and I mean, a lot of the people are not watching these games or understanding them with the same regularity as many of us, I would say. So there's more, I don't know, multiple game fans than season ticket fans that are probably making those type of comments.
It was the whole kitchen that was the only thing, to
Yeah,
be honest.
he was getting a fair bit of stick, but I mean, I'd start from the point that he's English. He's gonna understand that like that is the norm. Like if he did
Yeah,
the same thing in any league in England, he'd be getting stick for going to an opposing team. And I think the main reason for it isn't because anyone dislikes Dan Nimick. I think he's actually, if anything, seems like a heck of a likable guy. It's specifically because he signed for Forge.
I
Because he signed for the villains of the league, who
mm,
always seem to somehow have as much salary cap room as they require to sign anybody they need. And I think that's it. Like if anything, Zach Fernandez should probably be getting the same amount of hate, but he signed for Valor, and
yeah.
let's be honest, nobody takes him seriously. So, so it's nothing
Ouch.
to do with Dan Nimick. It's to do with the club he signed for, 100%.
Were they giving him the gift um, because of like his, was it like Halifax based taunts, or was it just the normal like you suck Nimick?
They had a whole chant that used the word that's not such a bad word in England, but is a very bad word here.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
got
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. It was,
Okay.
and then he was booed, and then I think where I was standing, there's a couple of people like screaming out him to score. I think it was you, Derek, actually score some own goals and stuff like that. And
I was
yeah,
giving Moba
yeah,
Booley a harder time than I was
that
giving Dan
that
Nimick.
that
I wished Moba Booley a happy pride many times during that match. And
God, yeah,
I'm sure some people understand that joke, but
yeah.
anyways.
So let's get into the goal. So as I said, I thought it's one of the best Halifax Wanderers goals I've ever seen. I've seen some decent ones like Massimo Ferrand's one last year. I think he scored a banger. But yeah, just and it was all because of the pass from Lorenzo. It was just peach fucking perfect. A couple of people were like, why didn't Dan Nimick try and block it? Had Dan Nimick done that, it would have been an own goal and Derek would have got his wish. So
Mm.
I just think it's just what Lorenzo brings to this team when he's on, like he's head and shoulders above like most of the midfielders in this league. So just want to get your thoughts on the goal there, lads.
I mean, Lorenzo's my favorite player. I just, since he's come in, absolutely loved him. I love watching him warm up. hit a ball around, and the amount of curl, the beautiful pace. Like Telfer could have taken a touch, just gone around the goalie and walked it in. So I really hope that was the touch he meant, but just brilliant, just brilliant. And then, oh man, like I was watching that. I couldn't believe the goal. I really couldn't. And to make that pass from like basically his own side of half, curling around between the center back and their left back with the defender on Telfer's back, like that was unbelievable. So
Did you pull a Gary and slide into his DMs that night and tell him what a great pass it was?
couldn't do it. Couldn't do
I messaged him yesterday. I was just like, because we saw him. Don't remember we were walking down Spring Garden on the way down to get a pint after the game, and we saw him and his girlfriend walking down Spring Garden, and some Irish idiot yelled at him, "Lorenzo, you're a legend!" Look at fucking loser,
it.
fucking fanboy at 47.
Oh my
Anyway,
God.
but yeah, it was like the thing as well, like you know, I thought the run from Telfer was timed to perfection too. So you've got to give him a lot of credit as well in that. Uh, you can play that pass all day long, and if the striker isn't on the same wavelength as you, it's just going to roll across. So yeah, I was really, really impressed. So coming into the second half, as Derek said, we kind of end up with our backs to the wall, which it's always strange to see at the Wanderers ground, to see us like we're like basically trying to hang on for a draw with well like 25 minutes left in the game. And Patrice had said in the press conference afterwards that, and it was very true, that every time we tried to clear our lines, it was just going straight back to them. It was just boomeranging to them. We couldn't hold on to it, and then and you know, you could just sense that that goal was coming, and it was like a weird vibe around the whole back end of it because it was just we just couldn't clear our lines. But do you think there was a reason for that? That like were our strikers not making the runs we needed? Like were we panicking, or was just Forge's press was just that good?
I think when Rampy came off, like that last 20 minutes showed me why Rampy could be important for the team. Um, I felt like we were very even with them, and then when he came off, and Provo was forced to defend, that doesn't work well for us. Or Isaiah's dropping deeper, Lorenzo's dropping deeper, and they're just trying to get on the ball and hold it. I don't know. Like I find we are composed. It's like we're overly composed until like that last pass where we got to try and break the final press and get Tiago into space or get Bahambula one-on-one down the line. Again, I don't think that they were dominating us. We just kept passing it back, and then they had tons of room to go forward again.
I feel with Forge, when you keep doing that, like they're so clever with the ball.
Yeah.
Like they just keep shifting it, and you have to shift with them, and it just starts to wear you down. Like they're and then their wing play is so good that and the deliveries, it just felt like it was back to the walls constantly. That they were just one superb cross away, and then you've got like Borges coming on and Sean Ware coming on, and it just felt inevitable. And then like the goal itself, I mean, it was disappointing that he gets in between our two central defenders, but the ball was phenomenal, to be perfectly honest. But then, like, they scored a goal and then we flip it again. And it's just,
Yep.
I don't understand, like, why we went into that, like, kind of that 20 minutes of sitting back. I just thought, like, we're at home, you've got like 7,000, like, lunatics screaming, like trying to help you along and push you forward. Is it a tactical thing, or do you just think that's just like the way they sat themselves? Like it just felt really odd that we were in the game for the most part, but then we just kind of just sat back and couldn't get out of our defensive third.
I don't know. Derek, do you think this is mentality? Because, like, to me, it's like at the beginning of the year, it looked like we'd turn a corner. We were the ones winning the close games. We were getting those
Yep.
goals in the last couple minutes. So I don't know what's happened. Again, mentality, confidence, luck, whatever it is, or they've changed. I mean, they have changed the lineup significantly. So if we look at that, like who was coming in to close the games out at the beginning, it was like that three pronged monster up top, right? We would sub Bahambula, Telfer, and Rhea out for Bai, Victor,
Tiago.
and Tiago.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's something we need to go back to. Like I think Tiago wants to be starting, so maybe you're putting Telfer into that. And I don't know if like that's the right thing to be doing, but that's how we won a bunch of our games and drew a bunch of our games at the beginning, first 8 of the year.
There's a lot to be said for subbing players in units like that, like where you have players that have built certain effective chemistry, particularly as a front three. Um, and to rather than replacing your front three piece by piece, to replace your front three as a whole, and that front three is able to develop some chemistry too. So I think there was something to be said for that approach. But I do think, yeah, it did feel like a bit of a confidence thing. And again, like Ganto said, like a switch flipped as soon as we went down. All of a sudden, it was us taking the game to them again. And if we'd had that energy a few minutes earlier, maybe we never concede, right? Like you know,
Can we talk
uh,
about one other thing too that I think drastically affected this game? Was Bai coming out, and I don't know if he was toasted, but again, like that was probably the most dynamic I've seen him or
he was
a
very good.
Bambola, like that first 60, 55 minutes, whatever it was, like coming inside, beating numerous players, like breaking into space down the middle, opening up all kinds of problems for them. So him coming out, Reyes not really doing that the same way in that game. He did it against Pacific a couple games ago, but um, like that was one where I kind of want to see him stick it out unless he's toast, right? And he didn't look toast to me, but I mean, coach knows.
Yeah, I like, and I feel like Bambula and Bioff are very different things. Bambula I think tends to stay a bit wider, and like you said, Bai can be very dangerous when cutting inside and is direct in a whole different way. And I think that's another interesting debate to have is like I feel like a lot of where we have been scoring goals lately has not like I know that Patrice wants to play this beautiful football where we're passing the ball around and opening up space. A lot of our best goal scoring opportunities have just come from us being direct. Um, and Johan by just going for, that kind of thing. And so do we need to be more direct going forward? Do we need to not abandon the beautiful football that Patrice wants, but that, we need to spend a bit more time being direct and going for goal?
Well, we've lost 3 games on the trot now, so something different might work. You know what I mean? And it just feels like, having York, who seemed off it. Like I mean, I think we talked a little bit earlier in the season that they were kind of being unlucky, like where they were kind of like not getting
Yeah.
the rub of the green because they were playing some really good football. And they've made some moves and brought in some players that have really complemented what they're trying to do. And they've kind of like it's not easy to go and win 1-0 away from in Calgary. It's not easy to do that.
No,
So I thought it was a
hardest
fantastic
place to
result.
win in the league.
Yeah, so I think that's not helping us that we're like going seems to be going a little bit backwards and they're kind of like pushing on. And it just seems like it's the wrong time of the season. I just think that we need a this is where you want your leaders to step up and get the lads into a training session. Maybe Patrice just leave the lads alone to it and just let them all have a discussion and just find out what's going on because you know I think after the start we had to the season and the optimism that the danger of like we all have PTSD for like the last 3 years of being a Wanderers fan. We just don't want to go back to that, right? And I just think that we need to kind of stop the slide. Luckily, I think our next game is Vancouver or somebody. It's not we had like a
Vancouver at home. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean that's a game that we should win. We had a little bit of a tough run, like playing Ottawa and Forge back to back was obviously going to be tough for us anyway. So let's hope we get back to winning ways and get decent results without too much drama. But yeah, I don't know. It just feels like we're shoehorning people into the team to try and keep them happy. I don't think that the Coimbra Telfer thing is the best idea when you've nobody to kind of come in and replace them. So let's see how it goes, boys. It's the only we try and stay positive because people get upset when you're a little bit negative, right? So
I like to think that we've offered several suggestions which no one's going to listen to,
of course.
but I think just from the general fan perspective, it's not like the boys are not working their bollocks off,
Yeah.
right? The tackling, like if you look at the stats and the tackling, the pat, like we're right in, like we're in the place that we probably deserve to be based on our stats. So the biggest one to me is finishing our chances, being clutch, and then just let's see if we can get some clean sheets going again because it's been a while.
Yeah. So let's see how it goes, and hopefully we get a big win in the next home game. So,
Can I raise one more small beef before we move on?
of course you can.
Um,
Uh-oh.
so I just want to say, I think that one of the unique things about the Wanderers grounds is the way that the coaching staff and the players and the fans can all kind of meet in that corner at the end of the match, and they come around and they do, and you can talk to the players and like win or lose historically, like that's been a thing. The players come around, the coaching staff comes around. So if you win, you're excited. They run up and down the field with the flags. If they don't, you know, you kind of reassure each other, you reconnect, you say we're gonna get them next time. I feel like that's fallen off a bit this season. And it was a bit noticeable. I should have said something after the Quebec City match, to be honest, because there were a couple of players that decided not to do that post game in Quebec City, and we were told they were too upset. They'd gone with the loss, they'd gone straight to the dressing room. And when you traveled 10 hours and stood in the rain for 3 hours, just 10 hours each way to watch your team, and some players have decided that they're too upset and they're going to the dressing room. Like, I don't think that's acceptable. I don't think that sends a positive message. And the last couple of home matches, I've noticed that the coaching staff aren't coming around. And some of the players are sort of either, clapping the fans from a distance and heading to the dressing room or just not making the rounds. And I don't think that's acceptable. And I think that I would appreciate it if the club maybe sent a message that I mean, assuming any of them are listening to this, but like that the club maybe sent a message that the expectation is like that should happen at the end of the game, because I think that's an important part of how we pick ourselves up and dust ourselves off and get ready for the next match, both as players and supporters. And so I don't like to see that tradition declining, and I think I've seen a bit of a decline in it this season.
No, I remember just as an aside to that, I think it was like last season when the Wanderers were playing out with Soccer Nova Scotia. Dave, you might remember this. They actually had like because they were using the dressing rooms there, and when you're playing like in the Metro League, like you use the same dressing rooms, and they had like a little uh fine thing up on it. Like so, you would get a fine if you did late for training, da 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 da. And one of those things that we were fined for is not acknowledging the fans afterwards and like going around and doing whatever. Maybe that's changed. You know what I mean? Like, and they've like it's not a finable offense anymore because like I don't stay I don't tend to stay after the games anymore. I just kind of watch the game and then I head off to where I'm going. But like I have been at a couple, and obviously I was at the one or two on Friday, and I did see you were a little bit uh, picked off at the fact because I kind of know the player and the coach you're talking about, who didn't come over. Like they kind of just did that, as you said, the clapping. You know the way you see it in the Premier League where they just kind of do the clapping when they fuck off down the tunnel kind of thing.
Which is fair enough because they've got layers of security between them and the supporters. Like that's literally all you
Yeah.
can do in the Premier League. But the beauty of the Wanderers grounds is you have that ability to connect directly with the supporters. And I think the players need to be reminded of how important that is to the supporters as well. So
I,
just throwing that out there
I
in
don't.
case anybody happens to be listening, that I do think the players should be strongly encouraged and the coaching staff should be strongly encouraged to participate in that long-standing Wanderers grounds tradition.
The way you said that was like, if anybody happens to be listening, full stop. It's we just listen back to ourselves basically. So yeah, so there, I get it, Derek. I will say the majority of players did come over at the end of the game, but
They did, yeah. And so that's not directed at, like, I shouldn't say that's not directed at the team as a whole. Most players did come around,
Mhm.
whatever. It's a handful of players and certain members of the coaching staff. Some of those players are part of our leadership group, though, so I would expect to see them take a leadership role in this. And I contrast that with I was at the 6-0 loss that the Tides suffered recently, and every single player on that team came around and thanked the supporters, signed autographs at the end. They must have been absolutely devastated with that result, but they still put a brave face on it. They came around, they thanked the supporters. They were there for the people that showed up for them. So that's my beef.
Okay. Is that gonna be a regular part of the the show? What? Where's
The
the
weekly
beef?
segment, Derek's beef.
I like it. We got rid of rapid fire that's
Yeah.
too long by Dave, and we're just going to Derek's beef.
Oh God, beef jerky. I just wanted to touch a little bit on the toys there since you brought them up there. So how's Harty Ball working out for you?
It, well, I think I made a joke that we've seen everything from vintage Island Games Heart to 2020, 2022 Heart. That's probably a little unfair. To be honest, the ups and downs remind me quite a bit of the first season. And so that 6-0 loss, I think, came on the tail. I think that was their fourth match in 13 days. And it reminded me a little bit when I thought about it some more. Do you remember that like 6-1 blowout against York
York. Yeah, yeah.
in the Wanderers' first season, where we were at the tail end of some crazy road trip where we played some stupid number of games in a stupid number of days, and um, everything, all the wheels came off the wagon all at once, sort of thing. It was that sort of thing. So I think like if you look at the results as a whole and you kind of take that one as a bit of an anomaly, we looked defensively a lot more. That game aside, we looked defensively a lot more solid. It's been, you know, 4-1-0 games, and we were on the right side of two of those and on the wrong side of two of those. I think we've seen the emergence of Annika Toth as a legitimate, potentially, starting keeper in this league. So that I think is exciting. I think it has revealed, um, having that many matches in that short of time frame has revealed some of the weaknesses in our roster build and some of the lack of depth in certain areas of the roster, that will need to be addressed. And so I'm excited about the attacking players we've brought in. But I also think we still have some issues to address on defense and midfield. So jury's still out on how Hardy Ball is working overall. I think there was some promising initial results and then some tough, more recent ones, but I do think defensively overall we look more solid. And then the question is, can we get something going forward? Because that last game against Ottawa, like we we had very few scoring opportunities. I think there's been some decisions I'm not totally on board with in terms of who's playing where up front. Um, we've seen Millie Clegg move to the wing. She's not a winger. She's a north-south player. She does not look comfortable crossing the ball. She does not look comfortable trying to get the ball into the box. She is a striker. And if you don't, if she's not your starting striker, then you shouldn't be playing her on the wing. We've seen attempts to play other players as striker that are not really strikers. And so I think, you know, maybe stop messing around with what's going on up top. Acknowledge that your wingers are wingers and your strikers are strikers, because it's clear that they're not comfortable when you switch their positions. But we'll see what these two new additions bring to the team, and hopefully some more, because I still think we could stand to add some depth in midfield and on defense. So
Yeah, I think he's just that 6-0 aside, he's definitely done what we thought he would do, and that's kind of like solidify things. Like I think I honestly like I watched the 6-0 game, and it was just when those games and just things just aren't going right, and you just know like it's gonna be one of those games. It was just so the look wasn't there. Yeah, it was kind of a horrible game to watch. But for the rest of it, like I mean, it's what Stephen Hart does. Like he's organizational skills with teams
yep.
is very good. But then obviously on the flip side of that, his attacking now as a coach, it isn't. And I think that's where
But
they'll need to like fix that. You know, if they're going to have a coach they're going to need to have somebody who's going to either come in as a forward coach, or they're going to need to have something in behind to try and work alongside that, because you don't want to go into next season like just 1-0 games the whole time, because we watched through 3 years of that, and by the end of it, we were all pretty much done with it, right? So
We've lacked pace out wide. I think Amanda Allen brings that, so it'll be interesting to see how that adds to things. Our most of our goals are coming from our 10, so that's also very reminiscent
yeah.
of a lot of the Stephen Hart era. Um, but yeah, it was interesting too to see how, like, having been in the stadium for the 6-0 loss, the difference in sort of the atmosphere at a Tides game. And I'd characterize it a bit more like, I think if the Wanderers lost that badly, it would be a pretty negative slash possibly a little angry atmosphere. And with the Tides, it felt like it was a bit more gallows humor was the way of dealing with it. Like it was a sort of a here we go, and people dealing with it through humor rather than
I,
frustration. So
I would say that it was the first or second season of the Wanderers.
yep,
It probably would have been that gallows humor,
yeah,
but like we're now so far into
yeah,
this that, and we've suffered so many of those kind of games. I think that's probably why people would have
that's fair.
the
That's a
nose
fair
play out
comment.
joint. So yeah, so
Jeez, for a second there, guys. I faded out, and then I was listening, and I was like, "Are they talking about Everton? What is happening? No pace, no goals, no
oh
wingers. Oh my
yeah,
gosh, tell me
yeah.
more."
It's gonna be a long season for both Tottenham and Everton.
Yeah.
So just the last little bit, I just talked about the crazy carries on in Vancouver. Were either of you guys surprised that they got rid of the coach? Were you surprised to hear that Martin Nash had come back in? And are you surprised that they moved on? Probably one of the best strikers the league's ever seen.
Yeah, that was just weird. The coach leaving. I mean, that could have been after that quote. Like, there's
Oh my
some
God.
quotes, right? You're just like, okay. Um, I'm glad we never had to use that quote,
Yeah.
or never decided to. Um, but yeah, the Diaz thing, like, it's weird. I don't understand. Like, this guy's bounced around to like so many different clubs. He's been back and forth. Like, he must have been the most loaned and come back CPL player in the history. Because, like, I don't know, he seems to have been back about 7 or 8 times to
Yep.
2 or 3 different teams, right? And it's just I don't understand. I don't understand what his agent is doing. I don't understand what he's doing. Vancouver had their plan. I thought of like, let's be young. We might not be great, but we're going to develop. We're going to sell. And then I don't know. At some point, maybe you strike gold with a few players, and you've got a team. But they just didn't have a strong enough team. Like they've
Yeah.
definitely got some great individual talent over there, but he wasn't pulling up any
Like,
daisies. I mean, for for his experience, I would have expected more by now.
well, you think of like they had like two of the best strikers in league history in Terran Campbell and Diaz, and he just knocked the confidence out of both of them. Like it's quite a feat when you think about it. And they've
Hmm.
had some really good players out there, like Batara's a really good player. Something didn't sit right there. Like I mean, they've kind of had
Callum Irving's a great
yeah,
goalkeeper.
yeah, and they've had like some really good players, but it just seems to always sour towards the end of it. I mean, like they had the Elliot Simmons was out there. Apparently, when he left, it wasn't on great terms and stuff like that. It just seems that there's always an undercurrent of something not right. Somebody had posted online there that they're on a big campaign to contact their season ticket holders who haven't shown up this year to say he's gone. Do you want to come back?
Oh wow,
So, yeah, so
yikes!
it's a kind of obviously we need all the franchises to work in the CPL, but it just seemed it was always going to be a harder franchise to get for them to get to work, especially with the name they chose and whatever's gone on in the off season. Uh,
It felt
something,
like they were rushed into the league. I've said before, I don't think the stadium location's ideal. I'm surprised they'd go be maintained the confidence of ownership for as long as he did.
I
I
know.
would have thought he would have been done after last season, but they came back and he was their guy. The whole situation with Diaz is very strange. I think you've heard some rumblings maybe around the league about that has a lot to do about the shared ownership between Pacific and
Yeah.
Vancouver and how that works. And I think it's maybe a bit of a red flag around why other leagues and FIFA and others are starting to crack down on multi-club ownership. But anyways,
Well, it just feels like that they've made, this sounds terrible, but like Pacific like went from like league champions or North Shield champions and just been in free fall ever since. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's like they've taken what was a successful franchise in many ways and kind of like fucked it up. And is it because they're distracted by the new one? And Rob Friend is spreading himself thin because he seems to be working a bit harder on the Vancouver project than what he is on the Pacific project. And yeah, it just seems a bit of a mess. And I mean, the whole multi-ownership thing, you know, Halifax are kind of in the same boat too, aren't we? Really, like with our big orange uh, daddy in in Hamilton. Oh dear. So yeah, I really appreciate the both of you hanging out. It's been, we just need a win just to get us back on track here. It's like it's I don't
Well,
want.
hopefully we don't see new coach bounce with
Uh,
the Vancouver match.
Well,
well,
they
they definitely
lost.
didn't get it
Yeah,
yesterday.
yeah,
Yeah.
they got hammered. So I like honestly, I think Nashi's a really good, like he's a really good coach, and I think he's a good choice. The problem now is that they have to try and bring in players that he wants rather than him working with the last guys. So they've got a very short space of time to try and bring people
And
in too.
he's interim, right? Like it's kind of the same situation as Hart with the Tides, right? It's sort
Yeah,
of yeah.
I I could see him like if he does a good job, like they'll keep him because like he's obviously with his brother and stuff like that. He's like uh known in Vancouver circles, right? So it would make sense for them to keep him. But I guess all depends on the job he does. But I mean, he's
Well,
not.
and I mean, really, what are they expecting this year? I mean, really, it's can you get the team solid for the next 12 games or whatever they got left? Show a little bit of upward momentum for next year because right now you're all about selling next year
Yeah,
because really, unless the Wanderers or York or Calgary just go on a massive slide, like the playoffs are set, it's just where the games are going to be,
yeah,
right? So I think we've got those three teams that are going to be battling 3, 4, 5 till the end of the year. I have a good feeling that the Wanderers are going to go back on a run. It's going to be very tight with them in York and Calgary all year long. So, I mean, we need to get at least one home playoff game again this year, ideally two, so that right now it should just all be all hands on deck. We got to get to third. I wonder if there's any transfers, loans, anything like that can help us out and just give us a little more depth in one of these positions that we talked about already.
I think we've got like one roster spot. I think somebody had said, but like
For now. But I mean,
yeah,
you guys already said we've got a bazillion center backs
we need to move.
they're not using.
Yeah,
Right?
I think we need to move some people on who haven't kind of been getting anywhere near the bench and match day squads, and it just seems like they're probably holding in a lot of cap space too. So
There's been talk about another potential loan from TFC, although it looks like another winger. So I'm curious, curious what they do.
yeah, it'd be interesting to see. Okay, anyway, lads, great to have you back. It's great being able to catch up on three defeats. Dear, calling you Wanderers.
Come on, you Wanderers.
Yeah,
Come
and
on, you Wanderers. Come on, you Tides.
and my new sign off for every episode is now leave you out. So just yeah, what a bastard. All right, talk to you later. Bye.
Take care, fellas.
See ya.
Bye.
Votes, please. Right vote, please. Time to drink on vote. Get out. Out to vote.